Okay, on this video we're going to make a pivot table and chart. So first we need to convert this area right here, and it doesn't matter what color the cells are at all. Yours might just look the same as this over here, but we're going to convert it to a table. I know it looks like a table, but it's not really formatted as a table. So I'm just going to click in this area where my data is and go to Insert and choose Table. And now it makes its best guess for where the data is, which is A1 through cell E9334. And it asks also if my table has headers, and my table does have headers, and I do have 9,334 rows of data. So this is a humongous table here. So I'll say OK. And now the thing that it does here is it puts on these drop down arrows. And I'll go ahead and explain what this data is about. First of all, we got our year here, and if I click on the arrow, you can see the years go from 2000 to 2016. And on all these pull down areas, you can sort them in some way. Like right now, they're going smallest to largest, but I could do largest to smallest, and it moves the table around in this sort of manner. And then you can even select certain ones, like if I wanted to just look at 2003, I can say OK, and I don't have to scroll down. So continuing on, let me take that filter off and just do select all. This is the area or region of the world, and you can see we have Africa, the Americas, Eastern Mediterranean, Europe, Southeast Asia, and Western Pacific. And again, you can sort or you can filter any way you like right there. Like if you want to just look at Eastern Mediterranean, we can do that. And you can filter a couple times. If you want to look at Eastern Mediterranean and maybe just look at a particular country or two, what I do here is I click at select all, and then I click the countries that I'm interested in. Let's do Afghanistan and Egypt and Iran, and say OK. And now we're just looking at those countries. And here's gender. Now this is, you can look at just males, females, or the averages of both of these genders. Right now we have all three showing, but if you wanted to just look at males, we could again select all and just choose male. And then this is your adult mortality rate. Now this means, this right here is telling us the expected number of deaths of 15-year-olds by age 60 for every 1,000 people in your population. So a number like this, 271 out of 1,000, what you would do is you can get that as a percentage if you like. I'll just go here and type, well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and do that. So if I do equals the 271.803 divided by 1,000, then you can see that's what this is as a decimal point, and I can go ahead and format that cell and get it as a percentage. And so the mortality rate for 2016 in Afghanistan for males was 27.18%. That's coming from this fact that it's 271 out of every 1,000 15-year-olds are expected to not make it to age 60. So that's a pretty high mortality rate in that area. You'll find some lower and some higher, but that's how you can get the mortality rate. So now what we want to do is get some averages. So I'm going to unsort this data and unfilter it. So let's go through, let me check each one and make sure I can get all of them back on. Let's see, let's go to country and select all. And I think we have everything there. And let's see, maybe we might want to get both genders back on there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is complete this little table here, which is actually rather difficult to do, and then we'll do this with the pivot table too. So if we want to get the average or the mean of both genders and all the regions, we can just do equals average, open parentheses, and click on the column that we want to get the average of, which is this mortality rate column right here. And you can see that puts in average of everything in E, from E to E. So if we just close that, then we get the average mortality rate for the entire world for both genders. Median, we just do equals median, open parentheses, and do the same thing. Just click up here on the column for E, and we get our median. So we can see that the median is 30, well, a certain percentage, 30 out of 1,000, lower than what the mean is. Now the mean is affected by extreme scores. So since the mean is larger than the median, that means we have some pretty high mortality rates. Mortality rates actually go up to about 700, a little bit higher than 700. So that's some really high mortality rates, and that's why it's pulling the mean higher than the median. Now, if you want to get the mean for a particular country, then you can type that, but it's pretty hard. And we're going to get it in the pivot table here in a little bit anyway, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. If you want to get the average for, let's say, just Africa, there's a couple ways, but one way in terms of a formula is to type equals average if, and it's all one word together, average if. Actually, after you start typing, you find it, you can just click on it. Now, it tells you here in these areas how we need to do this. So we see range and then criteria. So there's a range we're looking at. Well, the range we're looking at is the region area. So the region is over here where we see Africa and different regions. So we can just click on the B column, then a comma, and the criteria we're looking for is that this says Africa here. So we do quote Africa, close quote, and then next thing, comma, what do we want to find the average of? Well, this column here. So what this is going to do by typing in this function here is that it's only going to get the average mortality rate if column B says the word Africa. So I'll hit enter, and this is the average mortality rate for just Africa. And if you have more specific stuff, let's say African males, well, what we would do there is we do equals average if, and actually it's the next one down, average ifs, IFS. So this allows you to put in several criteria. And it's actually a little bit different format. First, it wants the average range, which is here in column E, comma, then the criteria range, well, that's this area back here in terms of, let me arrow back in terms of your region, and then comma, the criteria that we're looking for is the word Africa, close quote, got to spell it right, Africa, close quote, and then comma, the next criteria range. Well, we want males, so we click on the gender column and comma, now quote, male, close quote, and close parentheses, and this is the average mortality rate for males in Africa, those two restricted areas. There's other ways of doing this where you can sort and copy paste into a new sheet. I'll do maybe one of these. So if we would do, let's say, African males, let's do that a second. So we will sort this based on just Africa. So let's do just Africa, and we'll do just males here. And now we have the mortality rate. The only ones showing up are African males. So now I can click down and select these. And there's a lot. And at this point, you can do Control-C and copy it. And we'll add a new sheet here and do, don't paste it. Do right mouse click and do this paste 1, 2, 3 or paste special, either way you want to do it, but paste 1, 2, 3 just paste the values. Now if I do equals average, open parentheses, I can just click on column A, and I have the same value here, 358.85, that I do up here on this chart, 358.85. So you can do it like that, and you can do medians the same way. If you want to get the medians, you can get medians for specific groups that way, or do medians are even harder, and they're in the handout here. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and go to the pivot table, and I think you'll like that a lot better for getting averages. So to do a pivot table, what we do is click anywhere in your data. After you have this table made up, click in your data again, and we go to Insert, and over here you'll see Pivot Chart. Click on the pull down and choose Pivot Chart and Pivot Table. Okay, well, what we'll do here is it will say table right there of some sort. It will say new worksheet, and all this stuff is good. If you follow a later video that shows how to do medians on a pivot table, you also have to click this button right here, which is add the data to the data model. Say OK, and it gets you to an area where you can put a pivot table together. So what you do here is first we'll pull down our dependent variable, goes right here with the sigma values. Now the thing that we're interested in is adult mortality. That's our dependent variable, so just pull that down. Now notice right off the bat that says sum, not average. So we're going to have to change that to averages, but I'll do that in a little bit. First I'll pull down a couple more variables. In fact, just one more. I'll pull over the category that goes on the x-axis, and what we'll do there is pull region down. So you just pull that down. Now at this point you can tell these aren't averages because we looked at the average mortality rate for Africa a little bit ago, and it was 300 and something, and this says 800,000. And that's because right now this area right here is set for sum, and what it really did was add up all those averages. So I'm going to click on this and change this setting to value field settings and change that to average and say OK. And so now we have the average mortality rate for all the years. Now we were interested in males and females and all that sort of stuff, so we can pull down gender into a filter. Let's do that, and now we can look at, let's open this up here, and we could just say males right here, and if we say OK, then we get the same information we got before, but we have all these averages very quickly. And this is our 358.85 that we got for African males, and you can see that it says males right here, and this is for Africa, but we got it for all the countries, and you get these same values by holding the cursor right here. Now if you'd like to see how things are going through the years, let's pull year down to the column area. And if we do that, now we have all the years. I know we don't see all the years on the legend here, but we do have all 16 years or 17 years, and we can also scroll through this table to see them all. And we even have the grand total here, like here's the total average for African males, and here's the year, same for 2016 and every year, and that's for every region. Now if you want to see particular information on a particular country, you first have to know what region that country is from. So let's say we want to find out some information on a country in Southeast Asia. So I would click select all until none are selected, and then just choose Southeast Asia, say OK. Then up on the country area, I could click on that and type in the country I want to find, which is Indonesia. Click on Indonesia and say OK. And now I have a sheet just for Indonesia. If you want to find out information about a particular gender in a particular country, then we have to also bring down gender to the filter area. And you click and drag that down. And then just click on the gender, and let's choose males on the gender. And let's do that. And there we go. We can see the abnormality is with with males mostly in Indonesia, and actually the country Indonesia in the year 2004. So I'll stop this video right here.